At first, it didn't arrive as breaking news. There was no headline screaming controversy, no official announcement demanding attention. Instead, it appeared quietly, in editorials, in absences, and what wasn't said. But when Vogue began positioning Catherine, Princess of Wales, as a defining global style figure for 2025, while Meghan Markle slowly vanished from its cultural center, something shifted. Fashion rarely explains itself. It signals, and signals, when repeated, become verdicts. For years, Meghan Markle occupied a unique space in fashion culture. She was not merely dressed, she was interpreted. Every appearance sparked conversation that extended far beyond fabric or tailoring. Designers saw their work sell out within hours. Headlines framed her as proof that royal style could be modern, global, and outspoken. Vogue once leaned into that narrative because it aligned perfectly with a moment defined by disruption. But disruption is only celebrated while it feels profitable and controllable. By contrast, Catherine's rise within fashion media followed a completely different trajectory. Her style was never explosive. It did not shock. It did not demand explanation. It accumulated. Over time, repetition replaced novelty. Familiar silhouettes, British heritage designers, neutral tones, and consistent restraint built a visual language that editors could rely on without fear of backlash. Reliability is the currency institutions trust. The turning point wasn't when Vogue crowned Catherine. The turning point was when Meghan stopped being necessary to Vogue's narrative. That distinction matters. This was not a rejection framed as criticism. It was something colder and far more powerful. It was editorial silence. Silence tells audiences what is no longer essential. Fashion publications do not simply document taste. They regulate legitimacy. Who appears repeatedly becomes timeless. Who disappears becomes contextual, interesting but optional. And once someone becomes optional, their influence is reframed as momentary rather than foundational. This is why the contrast between Meghan and Catherine feels so stark in 2025. Meghan's fashion identity remains culturally loud, emotionally charged, and deeply symbolic. Catherine's identity is quiet, stable, and institutionally reassuring. Vogue's choice between them reveals less about personal preference and more about where fashion believes authority should rest. And authority, in uncertain times, gravitates toward predictability. The audience felt this shift instinctively. Comment sections filled with confusion, frustration, and debate. Not because Catherine didn't deserve recognition, but because Meghan's absence felt intentional. People weren't asking why Catherine, they were asking why not Meghan anymore. That question exposes the core tension of this story. Was Meghan ever meant to be permanent within elite fashion spaces? Or was she always a transitional figure, useful during a moment of cultural upheaval, but dispensable once stability returned? Fashion history suggests the latter happens more often than institutions admit. Icons are embraced when they challenge norms, then quietly replaced when those challenges become uncomfortable to sustain. This moment, then, is not about two women competing for relevance. It is about fashion deciding what kind of power it wants to endorse next. Loud influence or lasting authority. Conversation or continuity. By choosing Catherine, Vogue did not crown a trendsetter. It crowned a model of endurance. And by sidelining Meghan, it signaled discomfort with unpredictability, no matter how influential. This is where the story truly begins. Because once fashion stops following culture and starts judging it, every choice becomes political, even when wrapped in silk, wool, and couture. And if Vogue has made its judgment for 2025, the real question is not whether it's right, but how long that judgment will hold before the cycle turns again. To understand why Vogue's relationship with Meghan Markle changed, you first have to understand why it existed at all. Vogue does not attach itself to people randomly. It aligns with figures who embody a moment, who crystallize cultural shifts that fashion itself wants to reflect, amplify, and benefit from. When Meghan Markle entered the royal sphere, she represented a collision of worlds. Hollywood met monarchy. Celebrity met institution. America met one of Britain's most tradition-bound systems. For fashion media, this collision was irresistible. It promised relevance, reinvention, and reached far beyond royal watchers. Meghan's style wasn't revolutionary in construction, but it was revolutionary in context. She wore clothes as a woman stepping into power from the outside. Her fashion choices carried narrative weight, independence, confidence, and modern identity. Vogue didn't just dress her. It used her as proof that fashion could sit at the center of cultural change. At that moment, Vogue needed Meghan. The publication was navigating its own identity crisis. Print media was losing authority. Digital audiences demanded personality, conflict, and meaning. Meghan delivered all three effortlessly. Her outfits weren't consumed passively. They were debated. And debate drives engagement. Engagement drives relevance. But relevance is not the same as stability. Over time, Meghan's fashion narrative became inseparable from controversy. Not controversy of scandal, but controversy of interpretation. Every look was read politically, socially, emotionally. Her clothing became a canvas onto which broader arguments about race, privilege, media bias, and institutional resistance were projected. That level of symbolic density is powerful, but exhausting. For Vogue, featuring Meghan began to require explanation. Editors had to contextualize, defend, or frame her presence. Fashion thrives when imagery can speak without footnotes. Meghan's image demanded footnotes. And institutions grow impatient with complexity that cannot be controlled. The moment Meghan stepped away from royal duties, the calculus shifted. Her fashion influence did not disappear, but it changed category. She became celebrity-adjacent rather than institution-adjacent. And Vogue has always drawn a quiet but firm line between the two. Celebrity influence is fast. Institutional influence is slow. Vogue prefers slow. This doesn't mean Meghan lost relevance. It means her relevance moved somewhere Vogue is less comfortable anchoring itself. She became a voice rather than a symbol, a participant rather than a stabilizer. And fashion institutions rarely center voices that refuse to remain neutral. Meanwhile, Meghan's fashion identity continued evolving. More personal, more expressive, less constrained by royal expectation. Ironically, that freedom made her harder to package editorially. Freedom resists curation. Vogue's withdrawal, then, was not a dramatic rejection. It was a gradual disengagement. Fewer covers, less central placement, a subtle repositioning that allowed the publication to benefit from Meghan's past influence without committing to her future unpredictability. This is the uncomfortable truth. Fashion does not abandon figures because they fail. It abandons them because they no longer serve the institution's need for control. Meghan's power became too autonomous, too narrative-driven, too difficult to contain within a single aesthetic or message. Vogue doesn't operate in that space. It curates clarity, not complexity. So when Princess Catherine emerged as a figure of absolute consistency, unemotional, disciplined, and visually legible, the choice became obvious. Vogue didn't stop needing Meghan because she lost impact. It stopped needing her because it found something safer. And safety, in fashion, is the ultimate luxury. This shift doesn't end Meghan's story. It reframes it. She no longer exists to validate institutions. She challenges them simply by existing outside their approval. Which raises the question that lingers beneath every editorial choice in 2025. Did Vogue move on from Meghan because her moment passed? Or because her independence made institutions uncomfortable? That question has no final answer. And that's exactly why this story refuses to settle. Princess Catherine's ascent to fashion authority did not arrive with shock value. There was no single moment when the industry suddenly declared her influential. No viral outfit that broke the internet. No aesthetic reinvention designed to dominate headlines. Instead, her rise unfolded through repetition, quiet, disciplined, and almost stubbornly consistent. And in an era addicted to novelty, That consistency became her greatest advantage. For years, critics misunderstood her approach. They described her wardrobe as safe, conservative, even dull. The same silhouettes, the same designers, the same muted palette. To trend-hungry observers, her style felt static. But fashion institutions were paying attention for a different reason. They weren't looking for excitement. They were looking for control. Catherine's fashion never demanded interpretation. It never forced editors to contextualize or justify a choice. A tailored coat, a familiar cut, a recycled dress. Each appearance reinforced the same message: stability. That message accumulated value over time. And accumulation is how authority is built. Fashion power is rarely about being seen the most. It is about being seen without risk. Catherine's outfits became editorially frictionless. They photographed cleanly. They aged well. They did not alienate audiences. Crucially, they did not provoke backlash. In a media environment where controversy can erupt instantly, this predictability became priceless. Editors understood something the public often missed. Catherine's fashion was never meant to express individuality. It was meant to express continuity. And continuity is the language institutions speak fluently. Her consistent support of British designers further cemented this trust. It aligned her image with national heritage, economic support, and cultural preservation. Fashion editors could frame her looks within narratives of craftsmanship, sustainability, and tradition, narratives that require no defense. Over time, this reliability reshaped perception. What once felt boring began to feel deliberate. What once seemed cautious began to look disciplined. Catherine's fashion stopped being evaluated against trends and started being evaluated against time. That shift is critical. Fashion magazines do not crown icons because they are exciting. They crown them because they endure. Catherine's image did not spike, it stabilized. And stability is exactly what institutions crave when cultural authority feels under threat. While Meghan's fashion presence sparked conversation, Catherine's presence reduced noise. That difference matters. Vogue and similar institutions exist to curate calm within chaos. They reward figures who absorb attention rather than amplify it. By 2025, Catherine's fashion identity had become legible across borders and demographics. It didn't ask audiences to choose sides. It didn't require emotional alignment. It simply existed, reassuringly familiar. This is why her recognition as a global style icon felt almost inevitable to editors, even if it surprised the public. It wasn't a reward for creativity. It was a reward for restraint. But restraint carries its own tension, because predictability, while comforting, risks stagnation. And fashion that never challenges can lose relevance. Catherine's rise solves one problem for institutions while creating another. How long can safety remain aspirational? That question lingers beneath her elevation. Vogue's endorsement signals confidence in Catherine's model of influence, for now. But fashion history is cyclical. What reassures today can feel inert tomorrow. Still, in this moment, Catherine represents exactly what fashion institutions want the world to see. Composure without controversy. Authority without emotion. Modernity without disruption. Her slow rise was not accidental. It was cultivated through patience, repetition, and discipline. And in a culture exhausted by constant upheaval, that discipline has become its own form of power. The contrast is now complete. Meghan represented a moment of rupture. Catherine represents an era of consolidation. Vogue's choice between them reveals not just preference, but philosophy. And the question that begins to form is unavoidable. If fashion has chosen predictability over disruption in 2025, what happens when the world demands disruption again? That question doesn't end Catherine's story. It delays its verdict. Fashion likes to present itself as fearless, progressive, ahead of its time. But behind the covers and campaigns lies a quieter truth. Fashion institutions are deeply risk-averse. They may flirt with controversy, but they rarely commit to it. And when controversy becomes sustained rather than momentary, fashion retreats. This is the lens through which Vogue's repositioning must be understood. Controversy, when brief, creates relevance. When prolonged, it creates liability. And Meghan Markle's presence evolved from a spark of conversation into a sustained cultural fault line. Her fashion appearances no longer existed in isolation. They arrived carrying debates about race, media ethics, institutional power, and public responsibility. Every image demanded interpretation. Every feature invited backlash from one side or another. For editors, this created a problem. Fashion imagery is supposed to feel effortless, even when it isn't. When a photograph requires explanation, context, and justification, it disrupts the illusion of ease that fashion relies on. Meghan's image became heavy with meaning. Powerful, yes, but heavy. Editorial fear doesn't look like censorship. It looks like avoidance. Fashion publications operate within ecosystems of advertisers, luxury houses, and legacy audiences. These ecosystems value stability. When a figure becomes polarizing, even unintentionally, institutions begin to distance themselves. Not publicly, but structurally. Fewer features, less prominence, a shift in narrative focus. This is not personal. It is institutional self-preservation. Meghan's fashion narrative increasingly asked editors to take a stance, to implicitly endorse one interpretation over another. Vogue has historically avoided overt positioning unless it can fully control the narrative. With Meghan, control was impossible. Too many audiences were watching and reading between the lines. By contrast, Catherine's image required no defense. It did not provoke debate. It did not demand alignment. It allowed Vogue to remain neutral while still appearing authoritative. Neutrality, in times of cultural tension, is itself a strategic position. Fashion doesn't abandon controversy because it fears backlash alone. It abandons controversy because backlash fractures its audience. And fractured audiences are difficult to monetize, satisfy, or retain. The retreat from Meghan reflects this calculation. Not a rejection of her influence, but a refusal to carry its weight. Fashion institutions prefer symbols that absorb meaning quietly, not figures that generate constant interpretation. There's also a deeper anxiety at play. Controversial figures shift power away from institutions toward individuals. Meghan's ability to command attention independently reduced Vogue's role as gatekeeper. That autonomy unsettles editorial hierarchies. When individuals no longer need institutional validation, institutions respond by withholding it. This pattern repeats throughout fashion history. Icons are celebrated when they align with institutional authority. They are sidelined when their independence threatens that authority. Meghan's fashion presence became too autonomous, too unpredictable, too narratively charged. Vogue's retreat was not dramatic because it didn't need to be. Silence achieves the same result without confrontation. Catherine's elevation completes that retreat. It replaces volatility with calm, emotion with discipline, debate with reassurance. But editorial fear comes with consequences. When fashion consistently chooses safety, it risks losing cultural leadership. It becomes reactive rather than visionary. The question Vogue must now confront is whether stability can sustain relevance in a world that continues to change rapidly. For now, Vogue has chosen to step back from the edge, to crown reassurance, to reward restraint. But fear is not resolution. It is postponement, and postponement keeps stories alive. Because as long as controversy exists outside institutional approval, it continues to draw attention, unfiltered, uncontrolled, and unresolved. Which raises the next question. If fashion retreats from controversy today, who will it turn to when controversy becomes unavoidable tomorrow?